Killer Hospital. Rain lashed against the ambulance window in a relentless assault, blurring the skeletal silhouette of the city into an impressionistic nightmare. Inside, the rhythmic beep of the heart monitor was the only counterpoint to the storm's fury. I gripped my mother's hand, her face a canvas of worry etched by years of battling a debilitating illness. We were headed for Mercyhaven Hospital, a hulking Gothic monolith that loomed on the outskirts of the city like a mausoleum. Mercyhaven wasn't my first choice. Its reputation was shrouded in hushed whispers of unexplained disappearances and bizarre medical practices. But desperation, as they say, makes fools of us all. The specialists there, so they claimed, were the only ones who might offer a glimmer of hope. We were greeted by an unnervingly sterile lobby, a stark contrast to the storm raging outside. The silence pressed in on me, thick and unnatural. A single receptionist, a gaunt woman with eyes that seemed permanently fixed on some unseen horizon, sat behind a monolithic oak desk. Her smile, when she offered one, was tight-lipped, like someone holding a secret too terrible to release. The hallways we traversed echoed with a bone-chilling quiet. No cheerful chatter of nurses, no anxious murmurs of families. Just an oppressive silence punctuated by the distant, rhythmic clatter of metal on metal. It was as if the hospital itself held its breath. My mother's room was at the end of a long corridor bathed in an eerie green light emanating from a single flickering bulb. The room itself was Spartan, painted a sickly shade of yellow. The only decoration was a crucifix hanging askew on the wall, its silver corpus tarnished and dull. A tall, gaunt doctor, his face obscured by a thick beard and deep-set shadows, entered. He introduced himself as Dr. Blackwood, his voice a dry rasp that sent shivers down my spine. His examination was cursory, his eyes flitting across my mother's frail form with an unsettling dispassion. "We'll run some tests," he said finally, his voice devoid of warmth. "But frankly, Miss Thorne, your situation is precarious." Days blurred into nights. The tests were endless, painful procedures carried out by nurses with vacant eyes and unsettling smiles. Every interaction with the staff fueled a growing unease. The whispers, more prominent now, spoke of patients who vanished without a trace, of strange rituals performed behind closed doors. One night, a blood-curdling scream echoed down the hall. I raced towards the source, my heart pounding a frantic tattoo against my ribs. The scream came from a room across from my mother's. Bursting through the door, I froze. On the bed, a man lay strapped down, his eyes bulging in terror. Two nurses, dressed in crimson scrubs far too reminiscent of blood, held him down. Dr. Blackwood stood over him, his face contorted in a maniacal grin as he plunged a syringe filled with an inky black liquid into the man's chest. The scream abruptly cut off. The nurses released the man, his body going limp. Dr. Blackwood turned his bloodshot eyes towards me. A chilling smile stretched across his face. "Just some routine treatment, Mr. Thorne. Nothing to worry about." I stumbled back, my mind reeling. What had I gotten myself into? Panic clawed at my throat. I had to get my mother out of here. But how? My phone, inexplicably, had no reception. Every exit I attempted to find was mysteriously blocked. Mercyhaven was a prison, and my mother a prisoner condemned to an unknown fate. One night, fueled by desperation, I decided to explore the abandoned wing of the hospital, a section cordoned off by a red biohazard tape. The air here was thick with the oppressive stench of decay. Cobwebs clung to the walls, and peeling paint revealed dark, ominous stains beneath. Suddenly, a flicker of movement in the corner of my eye. A figure, shrouded in shadow, watched me from the darkness. As I inched closer, the figure materialized. It was a patient, a young woman with wild eyes and sunken cheeks, her hospital gown hanging loosely on her emaciated frame. "They take them," she rasped, her voice barely a whisper. "They take them for experiments. Don't let them take you." Before I could question her further, a guttural roar echoed through the hallway. A hulking figure, its body an amalgamation of twisted limbs and stitched flesh, lumbered towards us. This wasn't a patient. This was something else, something monstrous. The woman screamed and bolted. I followed close behind, the creature's heavy footsteps pounding the floorboards in relentless pursuit. We reached a dead end, a bricked-up doorway. Panic seized me, but then the woman pointed above. A rickety metal ladder descended from a dusty hatch in the ceiling. With a surge of adrenaline, I grabbed the ladder and scrambled up, pulling the woman after me. The creature slammed into the door below, its frustrated roars shaking the very foundation of the building. The hatch led to a cramped, dusty attic. Cobwebs clung to everything, and the air hung thick with the scent of mildew. We huddled in a corner, the sounds of the creature's rage echoing faintly from below. Fear gnawed at me, but the woman's terrified eyes instilled a grim determination. "This place," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the pounding of my heart. "It was built on a place of darkness. An old asylum, they say. They built Mercyhaven on top of it, hoping to bury the evil. But it seems..." She trailed off, her words lost in a choked sob. Time blurred as we huddled in the attic, the storm outside mirroring the one brewing within me. Every creak, every groan from the floorboards below sent shivers down my spine. Sleep offered no solace, filled with nightmares of grotesque surgeries and twisted creatures. Finally, the storm outside subsided, leaving an eerie silence in its wake. The woman, revitalized by a sliver of hope, shared a whispered plan. There was a ventilation shaft leading out of the attic, a risky route but potentially our only escape. With newfound resolve, we pried open the rusted access panel, revealing a narrow, dark tunnel. It reeked of dust and stale air, but it was freedom. We squeezed ourselves in, navigating the claustrophobic space in complete darkness. The journey seemed to last for an eternity. My body ached, but the thought of the horrors below propelled me forward. Finally, after what felt like an agonizing climb, we reached the end of the shaft. A sliver of moonlight peeked through a vent grate. With a combined effort, we pushed it open, tumbling out onto the rain-slicked rooftop. The city lights stretched before us, a beacon of hope in the darkness. But our escape was far from over. As we stumbled across the rooftop, a chilling voice echoed from behind. "Leaving so soon, Mr. Thorne?" Dr. Blackwood stood on the opposite end of the roof, his silhouette stark against the moonlit sky. Behind him, flanked by two crimson-clad nurses, stood my mother, her eyes glazed over, a look of vacant compliance etched on her face. They had already begun the treatment. Despair threatened to engulf me, but the woman at my side, her eyes burning with a desperate courage, lunged for Dr. Blackwood. In the ensuing struggle, she shoved him towards the edge of the roof. A scream, cut short by a sickening thud. Dr. Blackwood was gone. The nurses looked at each other, their expressions confused. The treatment needle slipped from one of their hands, clattering to the roof. Seizing the moment, I grabbed my mother's hand and we ran. Across the rooftop, down a precarious fire escape, and finally into the waiting arms of the storm. We hailed a cab, the rain washing away the grime and horror of Mercyhaven. As we sped away, I glanced back at the hulking silhouette of the hospital in the distance. It seemed to crouch in the darkness, a silent testament to the evil that resided within. My mother's recovery was long and arduous, but with the help of a specialist at another hospital, she eventually regained her strength. We never spoke of Mercyhaven again, but the memory of that night, the screams, the monstrosities, would forever be etched in my mind. Mercyhaven may have been a killer hospital, but in the end, it was the courage of a stranger and the unwavering love for my mother that pulled me from the clutches of that macabre institution. However, a part of me wonders what became of the other patients, lost souls trapped within the dark embrace of Mercyhaven, their screams forever swallowed by the silence.